Hello and welcome into the 2024 Heart Women's Soccer Media Day. I'm Jillian Carroll Latrinko, your host today. I'm the team reporter with the Kansas City Current in the National Women's Soccer League. But today, so excited to be hosting Media Day, and we are now scheduled to chat with Grandview University. We have head coach Vincy Stormirov. We also have student athlete Camille Dixon. Guys, thank you so much for your time today. We're going to jump right in. And Coach, talk to us a little bit. You've been around the game of soccer a long time. How much joy does it bring to you to be able to lead the team at Grandview?
Oh, it's a very good experience. If I've been here for 27 years, something must be going okay. So I enjoy it, and I enjoy every season. I I hate the time we have to wait once the previous season is over and the new season has to come. That's the one part of that the college game I wish was a little bit different, so we didn't have 8 months in between seasons, but I still feel very excited and I still have that anticipation of going into every season. So the way I look at it is every season is a brand new page, brand new team. Even if you have more returners for us this year, it's a little bit different. We have a lot of new players. So very excited about getting everybody on the same page and moving forward.
Awesome. Well, let's hear a little bit about Camille. Coach, could you tell us a little bit about her and how much impact she has on the team?
Very much an impactful player in more ways than one, both on the field with her performances, but as well off the field. She's one of our captains, and she was appointed in that position during her junior year. And she has the mentality of a player that is more than willing to go and do things for the team, even if she is not always in a position where maybe it's in her best interest. Last year, she had a pretty serious injury, and at some point in time, she had to make the decision of whether or not she's going to play through it or she's going to have a surgery and miss the entire season. So, being the team player that she was, and that was entirely her decision, it wasn't, expectations or pushing things from us. She actually decided that she's going to try to manage and go through the season. And for me, that was a pretty good indication about how much she is willing to step into the role of being a leader. Because at the time she wasn't appointed the captain, that happened in the spring. It wasn't feeling of obligations or feeling of, oh, I need to do this because I'm a captain. It was more, this is who I am. This is what I do. It is an injury that playing through it is not necessarily going to do any more damage. It's about going to be, how can I manage the pain and do I have the mental toughness to handle that? So the combination of those things obviously has an impact on how she's being perceived within a team and what she does for us in the role of a captain now.
All right, and Camille, coming your direction, obviously your character is a big piece of who you are, as Coach just shared your journey. Just talk to us about like how much you enjoy leading your team, how much you enjoy being with your teammates, and now after the off season, how excited are you for the upcoming season?
I'm so excited to play again. Obviously this year looks a little bit different. I mean, I don't have my injury, so I'm definitely more excited to be able to play pain-free, and we have a bunch of new players, so it's really exciting because we get more of like a leadership standpoint. Like, it's not a bunch of returners. So we're really trying to push the freshmen to buy into our process and understand our core values and hopefully play some good games.
Yeah. Well, so glad to hear about your injury and obviously, sending good vibes that this season you stay injury free. Talk to us about game days at Grandview and what is some of maybe your favorite parts and your teammates as well.
Definitely one of our favorite parts is before we go out after like lineups and everything, our starting lineup runs back and we play Every Time We Touch, and we all are just in like this big circle dancing and singing. And it's just a lot of fun and a big energy boost before we go into kickoff.
You gotta love those moments. I love them so much. Sometimes they're even more memorable than the game, right? um, Coach, coming your direction. Just as far as the collegiate student athlete, they're balancing a lot, right? Time management is essential, but from a coaching standpoint, how much do you enjoy coaching at the collegiate level?
It's very different than it could be on a professional level, on a youth level. It's kind of the step in between, not only from the perspective of the game itself, but from perspective of the transition of those individuals from being kids to actually becoming adults. So that's a really important part of that process. And um, the ability you have as a coach to help them grow, and I specifically mean that in a way of help them grow and become who they're going to be in the future, not intentionally trying to target and put your mark on the individual player, but just help them to figure out who they want to be and then guide them along that process. I think that's probably both from a soccer on the field experience and off the field experience is probably the most rewarding aspect of the game. It was very interesting because prior to joining you, Camille and I were talking about how much we very much would like to see if they have the opportunity to play a little bit longer, past those 4 years, because just at the time when they're graduating, they're getting really becoming very good as a players, and they don't always get the opportunity to enjoy the benefit of I'm still very fit, I'm still a very good athlete, but also know the game on a completely different level. And unfortunately, that's the time that they have to move on into other careers. But we're hoping that what they've learned as part of the process of being a soccer player is going to carry on with them in whatever else they're going to choose to do, because that's what athletics ultimately does for the character and the individuals.
And kind of along those lines, Coach, you're part of the Heart Women's Soccer Coaches Group. Can you talk a little bit about why you want to be part of that and how you hope to continue to grow the Heart and therefore the experience that the athletes have when they play in the Heart?
Well, we have a very competitive group of schools in a Heart to begin with. At the same time, there is a very good understanding and balance of the challenges that collegiate athletics and colleges in general, especially small private colleges, are facing. So when it comes down to that aspect, we're in a conference where there is a pretty good understanding. Okay, this is the environment, this is the adjustments that we need to do, how are we going to organize the business model in order to be successful so we can continue to be around, and then how can that actually impact the lives of the athletes that we are ultimately serving. So that's the approach on a conference level from administrators down. It's something that we're trying to carry over as coaches group as well. The way it's structured, we have a lot of interactions with our administrators, and we're not always going to get what we want as a coaches, but if we don't, we understand what are the rationales behind it. So it's a very open line of communication with administrators, and ultimately it's like, well, how can we get the conference better? For us, we know where we are as a conference. I think on a Division I level, there is a lot of talk about Power 5, Power 4. The Heart of America clearly is one of the top 3 conferences in the country, and I'll stand by that statement. Especially when it comes down to soccer, it's clear that is the case. And I think for us, it's a lot of pride, and it's also a lot of it's a big challenge when it comes down to every game, because there is not a game that you can walk in and basically say, oh, well, this is going to be an easy game today, we're going to look past this one, we're going to go to the next one. Every single one of the teams in the conference in any given day can be in a position where they get knocked down by a team that's around them, or even mid-table, or some of the times someone is sitting lower in the table, but they're a very good team. In a different conference, they could be a top 4. And if you're not on the top of your game, you can be the one that get knocked down, or you're one of those teams that's gonna knock down one of the top teams. And I think that's what makes it very, very challenging. And I hope that we'll continue on that path to add even more teams to qualify for the national tournament.
And you kind of mentioned it here, but it's just a grind every week, right? With conference play. How do you prepare for that? And, in terms of like the longevity of the season, how do you prepare to stay competitive in the Heart?
Again, balancing their schoolwork
Mhm.
with soccer. So from a coaching point of view, you're trying to do the best that you can to implement some kind of a periodization throughout the course of the season, to make sure that the athletes are staying fresh with the way that you're going to organize things both physically and mentally. I think the conference has also made some adjustments, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, the communication with the administrators, with the arranging the schedules this year, especially in a way when the opportunity was there to change and move some midweek games to weekends, and expand the season, minimizing the missed class time and allowing for a little bit more rest. That was part of our conversation even at the summit this year about going forward, how we're going to try to manage that aspect of it the best that we can. So it's about really monitoring the progress of the athletes on a daily basis as to what is their fatigue, what is their soreness level, and making adjustments, while at the same time you're standing true to the type of a preparation that you need to get done in order for them to perform at the best level they can for as long as possible.
Yeah. And Camille, coming back your direction, talk to us a little bit about your soccer journey and how you got to Grandview.
Yeah. So I went to a pretty medium-sized high school about an hour from here. I played high school and then I would drive and play club up here. So I would drive an hour every single night and come play up here. And then when it came down to college, I was looking for a very nice balance of schoolwork and soccer. It definitely came down to Grandview has a really good nursing program as well. So that really drew me in. So yeah, and then just coming in as a freshman and starting my journey here.
And it sounds like you guys are bringing in quite a few new players, wanting to make sure everybody meshes and gels, and you have to build that chemistry. How do you see the team bonding, and what are some of the activities or kind of norms that you guys participate in off the field?
Yeah. So we do mandatory meals every single day. So we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner all together, along with between practices and like everything along those lines. We all kind of like hang out and get to know each other off the field. We have meetings, and a lot of the time in those are like team bonding activities. So like charades or just silly little things to help break the ice between everybody.
Coach, talk a little bit about your schedule. You really only leave the state of Iowa once in the first 9 games. So how important or how beneficial is it for you all to be able to stay close to home for that big stretch of 9 matches?
I think the balance for us this year was, again, with a large group of new players that we have coming in. The question was how soon and how quickly we wanted to hit the road trying to play games, versus how important it is for us to make sure that internally all these players are on the same page. And over the course of that period of time, we tried to transform them as much as possible into a Grandview player. Not how you do things on your own, not how you've done it in a previous club or high school, not knocking down any of those things. Obviously, those high schools and clubs have done a phenomenal job to build them to the level they are to be here, but you can't have 25 players playing in 25 different ways. And that's what I mean by bringing them together and becoming a Grandview player. So what will be the traits that we're going to have as a program and how we're going to do things. So that's where not having to travel as much and allowing especially the younger group of athletes to get used to the routine of going to class, going to practice, going to a game. Once they get into that rhythm, then the traveling is kind of a sprinkled in there. So we will be able to hopefully get to the point that they build the pregame routines and habits. So when we comes down to the middle of the season or later in the season, it's not so much of a shock for them because they've done so much of that so early in the season. With the returning group of players, you can be a bit more adventurous of how quickly and how soon you can hit the road. With the returning player, with a new group of players, we're trying to kind of build those relationships and the chemistry and the habits before we try to put them on the road as often.
Yeah. Well, Coach and Camille, wishing you the absolute best of luck this season as you enter into 2024. Thank you so much for being here for Media Days, and good luck.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Have a good day.